Today on Sports Central, I'll be giving you guys my Week 1 rankings for the 2022 college football season. We have finally made it through the offseason, and we are here in Week 1, the start of this brand new college football season. And so today I'll be giving you guys my preseason rankings. These are my Week 1 rankings. So obviously all slates are cleared. We can look back at the 2021 season and kind of see how the teams were and kind of base the 2022 Week 1 rankings off of that. But obviously a lot of things have happened over the course of the offseason. So with all factors considered, these are my preseason rankings and my rankings as we head into this brand new college football season. So that said, let's look at 1 through 5. We got Alabama at number 1 and Ohio State at number 2. And it's pretty clear your two favorites, your two main contenders to win the national title as we head into this 2022 season are Alabama and Ohio State. You got Bryce Young with Alabama, and that is a team that is stacked going into 2022. And Ohio State with their simply excellent offense, CJ Stroud, and the amount of key players that are returning there, plus defensively they're looking to be even better. I mean, Alabama and Ohio State, those are your two main contenders to win the national titles we head into this season. Of course, you got Georgia, the defending champs, at number 3. Georgia's also a team that, I mean, you see sometimes with teams that maybe have a really good season and they win the national title. I mean, LSU is a perfect example of this. They maybe fall off the next season because they simply don't return the key talent that they had to win the national title that season, and LSU fell off big time after their 2019 title. So for Georgia, will that happen to them? I think definitely not. I think Georgia going into this season is definitely also a contender to win another title. They've got tremendous talent coming back, and even though they're losing a few key players, without a doubt, I mean, every team's losing a few key players. So for Georgia, I mean, the Bulldogs are also a team that I feel like shouldn't be slept on going into this season, as they got plenty of key talent coming back. Utah's my number 4, and you can compare this to the AP poll and the coaches poll. This is actually, I mean, these are my personal rankings, and 1 through 3 are pretty easy to pick, but my rankings are actually very different from the AP poll or the coaches poll, and you'll notice that Utah's my number 4. The Utes going into the season, that is a team that is really looking good. Cameron Rising coming back, who had a great 2021 season. Utah in general was a bit of a surprise team last season. They turned out to be really good. And I mean, Tavion Thomas, Vele, I mean, this Utah team is for real, I think. And honestly, the Pac-12 they got a chance to have a team in the college football playoff this season, and I'm pretty sure if it's going to be any team, it's going to be Utah. I mean, this is a team that is returning tremendous talent, and I mean, yeah, Utes are a big contender as we get into the season. And Michigan is my number 5. Michigan is a team that I feel like also shouldn't be slept on. They're number 8 in the AP poll, which kind of surprises me seeing them. I mean, it's pretty competitive. The top 8, I mean, according to votes, are kind of in a league of their own. It's super close, especially between, you could say, 4 and 8 between Clemson and Michigan. And Michigan's a team that I could definitely see once again winning the Big Ten. I mean, Ohio State is my favorite going into the season, but Michigan is not a team to be slept on going into this season. So I've got them at number 5, and that's a team, McNamara. I mean, their quarterback situation, obviously they got a couple of guys in there that could split some time. And of course, I mean, this offense, defense, I mean, defensively they lose a couple of their key players, but otherwise Michigan looks really good. So that's a team to not sleep on going into 2022. Moving on to 6 through 10, Clemson is my number 6. And Clemson is a team that's ranked number 4 in the AP poll, which, considering Clemson last year, you could consider to be a bit down in comparison to their previous years. For them to be number 4 in the preseason is, I feel like, a little bit of a jump. I mean, Clemson improved a lot over the course of the 2021 season. They turned out to be a pretty good team towards the end of it, but, I mean, the start of it, of course, was a bit messy. And I expect Clemson to be much better this season, but to have them in the top 4 in the preseason, I feel like it's a bit of an overreaction, in my opinion, just because of where they were last season, and you're already going to put them in the top 4 above multiple teams that were already super successful in 2021. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put them at number 6, and we'll see how they do. Number 7 is Oklahoma. You may be surprised to see OU this high. I mean, honestly, it's not even that high, considering they are number 9 in the AP poll. But of course, they're about 300 votes behind number 8, which is Michigan. But OU, I think OU this upcoming season is a team that I feel like some people are writing off a bit because of Lincoln Riley's situation, but I really like Venables as a coach. I think they're going to be just fine. Quarterback situation obviously is a bit more of a question mark, because they lost their two key guys in Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams. But I still think Oklahoma is a team that, I mean, they got a chip on their shoulder going into the season. And Dylan Gabriel, of course, is a quarterback. He hasn't really shown his full potential yet. I feel like he's still got a ceiling here, so we'll see how he does. And I feel like OU is definitely a team to still keep an eye on. Texas A&M's number 8. They got the outstanding recruiting class, the number 1 recruiting class going into this season. And Texas A&M is a team that I think is, also a big contender in the SEC. They're ranked number 6 in the AP poll, which I feel like is still just a little bit high, considering they were a good team last season, but obviously not a college football playoff team. So we'll see how they do. I got them at number 8, definitely a top 10 team. Oklahoma State's my number 9, and this is, the Cowboys are also a team that I really think some are writing off going into the season. They were inches away from winning the Big 12 title, and if they did, they would have been in the college football playoff last season. Don't forget that. Plus, this is a team that is returning tremendous potential despite having a really good season last year. So Spencer Sanders, if he can improve, that would be huge for this team, and defensively they're looking better. So Oklahoma State, keep an eye on them. I've got Notre Dame at number 10. That is significantly lower than the AP poll, which has them at number 5. Same with the coaches poll at number 5. Notre Dame, I just don't know about them. Tyler Buchner at quarterback, we haven't seen him too much. So, the quarterback position is a bit of a question mark. There's no question Notre Dame's got some great talent, but I want to see Notre Dame a little bit before I rank them in the top 5, just because of some of the talent that they've lost. Notre Dame at number 10 I think is pretty reasonable, but I feel like in the top 5 in the preseason is a bit too high for them right now. So we'll see how they do. They perform well in the first 2-3 weeks. You'll see them definitely up there in that top 5 for me. Moving on to 11 through 15, we got NC State at number 11. This is a team that is, I think they're going to be a big contender in the ACC this season. Devin Leary coming back, and he's not the only one. NC State's got some really good talent. They've got tremendous potential, a really high ceiling going into this season. And of course, this kind of reminds me a bit. NC State kind of reminds me of North Carolina going into last season. Of course, we haven't seen NC State play yet in the 2022 season, but North Carolina was a team that was so hyped up going into 2021 because of the quarterback situation, Sam Howell, plus the talent that they returned after a pretty good season in 2020. And North Carolina turned out to be the biggest disappointment of the season, in my opinion, and they turned out to not be very good. NC State, this is an NC State team that I see tremendous potential in, but they got to start quick. They can't be taking losses in the first month and expect to remain a big contender. So for NC State, a team that's got really good talent, really great potential. I think NC State is a team that's got talent to be a big contender in the ACC, potentially even in the nation. We'll see what happens here. This is a team that, you just have to wait and see on. Oregon's number 12, and Oregon's a team that I've got a couple of questions about. Bo Nix at quarterback, of course, he's a quarterback that's been a bit inconsistent at times when he was at Auburn previously. So we'll see how he does at Oregon. Definitely, the Ducks are a team that I'm keeping an eye on going into the season, and they're a team that's got a high ceiling but also a low floor. USC's number 13. That's a team that is also very interesting. They're ranked 13th in my rankings. They're ranked number 14 in the AP poll. And considering USC they were a bad football team last season. It's pretty insane seeing them in the top 15 already in preseason polls. But there's a reason for that. Caleb Williams, Travis Dye, Lincoln Riley going in, the amount of great transfers that they have. USC is, they look completely turned around. They've probably had the best offseason in the nation, if you ask me, just based on the transfers, and the recruiting hasn't been bad. So, USC, I expect them to be pretty good. You got multiple teams that some are hyping up, and you could say like USC or even Texas. Texas is another team that I feel like people are really hyping up too much, considering they were literally 5-7 last year, and USC I think was 4-8. So, for USC to be ranked in the top 15, I get it though. I think USC is a team that won't disappoint too much this season. They're gonna have a great year, I think. Texas, I'm not too confident on them, even though I definitely think Texas is a bit overrated, considering, once again, they were 5-7 last year, and the quarterback situation, Quinn Ewers, we've hardly even seen him, so A bit uncertain on Texas. I mean, Nebraska's another one. There are many predictions saying that Nebraska could win the Big Ten West, get up to 8 to 9 wins. Turns out Nebraska literally just lost yesterday to Northwestern in week 0. So, I mean, you never know. USC could be a huge bust, but at the same time, I could see USC being a big contender in the Pac-12. Baylor's number 14, and Baylor's a team that if you followed me this offseason, I'm not very high on Baylor. I mean, you could say Baylor, the quarterback situation, Bohannon's out of there, but apparently they're doing okay. They're doing all right with Blake Shapen at quarterback, which I think so. And Baylor's a team that's been pretty good in the past 3 years, especially 2019. You remember 2021; they were 11-2 last year. So I personally think Baylor is a bit of a letdown this season. I'm a little bit skeptical on Baylor going into the season, but we'll see what happens. I got them at 14. Michigan State at 15. I got the Spartans in the top 15 as is in the AP poll as well. Don't have Kenneth Walker anymore, but of course you got Peyton Thorne coming back, who was great last year. So Michigan State could be a contender once again. Moving on to 16 through 20, Arkansas and Kentucky at 16 and 17. I think those two teams should be ranked a bit higher than they are in the AP poll. You got them at 19 and 20 in the AP poll. I think Arkansas and Kentucky both should be decent teams this season. Maybe not quite as good as they were in 2021, but they should still be up there. Wisconsin at 18. I mean, Wisconsin's offense last year, I mean, the passing game is always a bit of an issue for Wisconsin, but I think, Wisconsin's offense should definitely be improved going into this season here. I mean, you got one of the best running backs here in Braylon Allen. He is a beast, and he's a young running back too. And Braylon Allen, he's going to be an issue for many teams in the Big Ten this season. You also got Malusi. Don't forget about him. And Graham Mertz, of course, at quarterback. He's been very inconsistent in the past. Maybe not the best quarterback, but if he can improve, this is a Wisconsin team that could be an issue. I've got them at 18. BYU at 19. I think BYU is a team that many are underestimating. They were a great team last year, and they got Jaron Hall coming back. Their quarterback. They don't have Algier anymore. Their running back, who is a huge impact player, but the receiving core looks good with Romney, Nakua, and Hill. BYU is a team to keep an eye on, I think, once again. I mean, it surprises me not to see them ranked very high in the AP poll. They're 25th in the AP poll. I think they should be in the top 20 for sure. I mean, they really proved a lot of doubters wrong in the 2021 season. I think they do so again in 2022. Wake Forest is my number 20. Wake Forest is a team that I think some are underestimating as well. They've got great return in production. Keep an eye on them going into the season. Wake Forest could definitely be the team that once again sneaks up and is a dangerous team in the ACC. Moving on to 21 through 25, we got Pitt at 21, and that's a team that doesn't have Kenny Pickett anymore, who had a great season for Pitt last season. Instead, they got Kedon Slovis, the USC transfer, which I'm not as confident in. I mean, we've seen Slovis a little bit. He's just disappointed a lot, even though in the past, he's had some high expectations going into the season. So he's got potential, but I'm definitely a bit cautious when predicting how he's going to do. But Pitt in general, I don't think they'll be quite as good as some are expecting. I think Wake Forest kind of takes the position that Pitt is expected to be in the preseason. But yeah, Pitt still should be a good team. I got them in the top 25. Miami number 22. Miami's a team that I think people are really overrating. I mean, this is a team that lost a lot of talent after the 2021 season. They got a couple of transfers. Tyler Van Dyke definitely shows potential as a quarterback, but I need to see Miami more before ranking them in the top 20. The AP poll's got them at 16, which I think is very high for them. I think Miami being a team, and they weren't even that good last season. They disappointed a ton in the 2021 season. I expected Miami to be a big contender in the ACC, as did many. With Derek King coming back, the talent that they had, they were 7-5, which you could say isn't terrible, but they definitely disappointed. So I've got them at 22. Ole Miss at 23. Took a couple losses this offseason. I think they fall off a little bit, but still a decent team. Cincinnati 24, college football playoff team last season. They're back into a rebuilding phase, but they had that incredible 2021 season, so they can remember that, even though, they could be relevant in the next couple of years, but I think 2022 is a bit of a rebuild season for the Bearcats. And 25, I'm going to put Penn State in here. It could be a couple different teams, but Penn State, I do like how the Nittany Lions are looking defensively. They should improve offensively. Sean Clifford coming back. If he can improve and have a good season, Penn State should be a potential dark horse contender in the Big Ten. So there's your top 25. These are your honorable mentions, your first 5 out for this week. We got Houston, Tennessee, Iowa, Purdue, and LSU. Houston's a team that I considered putting in the top 25. They are in the AP poll, but I'm not too confident in them. I want to see a couple of games out of Houston first before I rank them. Tennessee should be decent this season. Iowa, Purdue, both. I see tremendous potential in Purdue, even though their floor is pretty low. Iowa should be decent. They should be improved, and LSU, can't forget about them either. So those are your first 5 out, and these are my week 1 rankings for this 2022 season. That wraps it up for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this video, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.